Listen to this podcast now
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Idea Gen Global Podcast with George Safakis.
I'm George Safakis. In a world overflowing with noise, there is one forum where the world's smartest voices connect, where visionaries sit at the same table as innovators, and great minds don't just talk, they act.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi.
Okay, we're looking around. This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Sunday morning, we have Steve Emerson. He's the founder of the investigative project out of Washington, and he has some first-hand information sometimes that other people don't have. Well, Steve, you want to, on a Sunday morning, you want to give all our listeners an update. After President Trump's visit to Davos, give us the pulse of how everybody feels and what they feel like.
Well, John, it's good to be with you. I hope our listeners have eaten breakfast and have digested it, because the material I'm about to reveal is not very pleasant. In the past week, the new Syrian regime, which is dominated by ex-jihadists and current jihadists, have assaulted the entire Kurdish community in Syria, displaced the Syrian Democratic Forces, a group that has been our ally for more than a decade, in detaining 9,000 ISIS terrorists, booted them out, attacked the Kurdish communities, and now has basically abdicated its responsibility because it's now the U.S. has now been forced to detain the 9,000 terrorists and ship them to Iraq. This is a catastrophe of the worst making, because terrorists, hundreds of them, have escaped, ISIS terrorists. We know how bad damage they can do. By 100 can do a lot of damage and kill Americans. This is just one part of the problem that we were developing in the Middle East, John. Turkey has played a pernicious role in so many areas that the American public is probably not aware of.
Well, I'm not sure. I have my own problems with Turkey being the head of the highest layperson in the Greek Orthodox Church in North America, and so I have my own problems. But Turkey is a NATO country. But are they really a NATO country, or does the rest of NATO trust them?
Well, you raise a good question. The reason that they are, they basically play a hostage role over Europe, because they're the ones that threaten to unleash hundreds of thousands of radical Islamists into Europe unless Europe pays them a hostage fee and basically kowtows to their policies. As far as Turkey being a U.S. ally, if they were a U.S. ally, they wouldn't be purchasing the advanced Russian S-400 missile systems, and they wouldn't be allowed to conduct military operations against U.S.-backed partners in Syria and elsewhere. NATO is weakened by the inclusion of Turkey, but they basically are holding the United States and the Europeans hostage, and it's a pretty despicable game. Look, Turkey hosts and literally trains Hamas terrorists. There are training camps in Turkey designed to send, and they have, suicide bombers into Israel. One suicide bomber detonated himself last year in the middle of Tel Aviv. Turkey has imprisoned U.S. pastors, including American pastor Andrew Brunson, for years now. He was released only due to pressure by the Trump administration. But they persecute Christians. You know, of course, they're involved also with Iran. They purchased a lot of oil illegally from Iran, and they've also supplied drones to Iran. So this is not an American ally at all.
I understand. Where does Iran stand? I mean, are the American forces still moving in to that area?
Yes, one carrier is already in place. Another carrier is on its way. So I think the United States is going to be in a good position in several days with these two carrier groups to basically carry out any type of mission the president orders if the suppression and persecution of the protesters continue. I must say, we don't really know exactly what's happening in Iran because, as you know, the regime has cut off the internet, and that means 98% of the people can't respond and video as they were doing recently. But the fact is we're still getting reports, at least not visually, but by oral reports by phone about the protests continuing. And it appears that the government is now embarked on a campaign to execute some of those protesters, even though they claim that they were not going to do that. That's really the
So I guess President Trump is keeping his options open right now.
Absolutely. I mean, look, he stated very clearly yesterday in Davos that if they continue to do this or resume the executions, he's going to unleash the power of the U.S. military, and he's 100% right. And I think this is the first time, John, since 1979 that we see the regime almost being toppled. And other observers may say that's not possible, but I can tell you personally, this is something I haven't revealed before. I was involved several years ago in the defection of several IRGC commanders. I played that role because I was asked to by the CIA after they approached a confidential source of mine in London. And in the end, it turned out that it opened up a floodgate of defections of the IRGC, not just to the U.S., but to Europe. That shows that the IRGC is not as strong. It wasn't distributing the benefits. And I think we are very in a good position in knowing exactly what their capabilities are and what they aren't.
Understood. Anything else you want to tell the American people on a Sunday morning?
I don't want to ruin their mornings any more than I have, but I just think that we're on the cusp of a major problem, a military problem in the Middle East because of the Syrian regime pretending to be moderate. And yes, they did fight against the ISIS in the last month or so, but they are basically a jihadist regime that has embarked on massacres, major massacres, against the Kurdish community, against the Christian community, against the Druze community, against the Yazidis. This is not going away, and I think we are allowed Turkey to basically empower this regime to the point where 19,000 civilians have been killed in the last year alone, and this is something the American public needs to know about. Sorry about the bad news.
Not a problem. Steve Emerson, we take good, bad, or indifferent. We just want to report what the American people should know. Steve Emerson, the investigative group, thank you so much for coming on this Sunday morning, and we'll catch up again real soon.
You got it. Thanks, John.
Busted.
The reviews are in.
Awesome.
You wanted more Joe Concha. And we heard you. More Joe. More show.
We're talking to you. Under promise and over deliver.
Joe Concha. Weeknights at 9. Plus Sunday mornings at 11 on 77 WABC.
Jimmy Kimmel no longer tries to be funny. Not that he ever really was.
Joe Concha. Weeknights at 9. Plus Sunday mornings at 11.
Democrats defending cocaine coming into the country.